everybody, Matt the Matt here. Hope you're well. This weekend we had a new horror film out in the Insidious franchise. The franchise has been going on since I think 2010, 2011. And we are now on the sixth film in the franchise, Insidious Out of the Further. This is directed by Jacob Chase. Kind of a new director in the horror sphere and overall. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not like a huge fan of the Insidious movies. I think they're some of them are better than others. The last one, Insidious the Red Door, I thought that was easily the weakest of the bunch. Even though they brought back the Lambert family, even the son, I thought most of that movie was just flashbacks in the first two movies, which was a waste of time. I did like the third one. I think Dermot Mulroney was in that one. And that was also directed by Lee Winnell, that one. The first two were directed by James Wan. Then Lee Winnell did the third one. The Red Door was directed by Patrick Wilson. And I don't remember who did the fourth one. But this one was getting really good reviews. Actually, technically it has the best reviews in the franchise based on Rotten Tomatoes. So I was very, very curious after I saw the reviews, or at least the percentage. So I thought, maybe I'll give this a try. Maybe it will be a good one. And I actually do think this is one of the better Insidious movies in the franchise. Starting out with my positives. Amelia Eve is our main character. The actress plays our main character in the movie. After I was watching the movie going, where have I seen her from? And once again, like some people do, like I do when the movie was over, checked my IMDb, and she was in The Haunting of Bly Manor. The season 2, if you will, anthology of The Haunting of Hill House that came out in 2020. So it's been a while since I've seen her in anything since The Haunting of Bly Manor. But Amelia Eve, I thought, did an excellent job. She's a character dealing with a lot of trauma from when she was a child, watching her mother kill herself, and then also still living in the house that her mother killed herself in. I don't get that. But she dealing with a lot of trauma. She's a dentist. She has a young daughter around 10 or 11. So you definitely see the generational trauma in this movie. I thought Amelia did a great job dealing with the scary moments, the tension, the suspense, the emotional moments that dealt with her mother, and then even dealing with her daughter. So I'm like, man, this actor is actually really good. I like the generational trauma. The trauma that she dealt with her mother kind of got passed on to her, and then obviously her daughter too. So it's a very interesting looking, like in life itself. Trauma can come from anywhere, even within the family, generational trauma. The movie has two very standout themes. One of them you see in the trailer, the couch fort, where she goes into this fort that her daughter made, and it almost becomes like a maze. And the way it builds the claustrophobia and tightness, close quarters, and just the suspense and tension throughout that scene was definitely one of the better scenes in the franchise. Then there's a scene in the dentist's office that isn't scary as much as it is completely gross. So utterly gross. Now there I am eating my popcorn, almost like I wanted to barf. I mean, bad enough people don't like going to the dentist anyway. You watch this scene in the movie, and you will never want to be a dentist ever in your life. Ever. I don't know how people do that job. The pacing for about an hour and 45 minutes or so movie, I thought it was pretty well paced. I like how this one expands the mythology of the universe, of the Insidious universe. Our character can do stuff like bring stuff from the further, basically the land of the dead, if you will, into our world, Earth. And I thought that was or bring it from Earth into the further. And I thought that was something we've never seen before in these movies. It expands on the mythology and the world building, and it added a new element to this movie. There were a few jump scares. There was one in particular early on in the movie that had me jumping. I jumped. My popcorn went up in the air. I was like, okay, no more of those. I'm only getting older. Some of my negatives though with the movie. The third act, there's nothing wrong with the third act, like the third act is fine. It's the part where there's a moment where we start seeing famous or memorable characters from other Insidious movies show up. And it becomes one of those, oh, you remember that character? Oh, you remember that character? Oh, you remember that character? And it actually reminded me of the movie Doctor Sleep, the Shining sequel, where when Danny Torrance, Ewan McGregor, goes back to the Overlook Hotel, and instead of creating new characters that maybe we didn't see in the hotel the first time, all it is are the same characters we saw from the original movie. Like, you remember that character, you remember that character, you remember that character. And that was a part of that movie that almost felt the weakness. Because, we're just playing out the same type of scenes we saw in the original. Even though the first two acts of this movie had been something completely different from the first Shining movie. But overall, I still enjoyed the film. I think it is one of the best Insidious movies in the franchise. I think number 3 is really good also. So, let me know in the comments below. Are you a fan of the Insidious movies? Do you want to see more of these movies? And what do you think of Insidious Out of the Further? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button.